Ladies, gentlemen, am I often forgotten, but certainly not by me. Divert Ability Codexes, welcome to the channel, and welcome to my Raksha Boss Guide, Magic Edition. In this guide, I'll be covering worn equipment and inventories, rotations and methods, and just general tips and tricks, both from the perspective of a more budget-friendly preset and my personal preset, which happens to be Best in Slot Magic. Without further ado though, let's go ahead and jump right into this guide. So here are the two presets I've created for this guide. The one on the right is just my normal Raksha preset, just go in there farming for KC, for GP, for title, whatever I would personally use. And on the left is kind of just a downscaled version of my preset with more budget-friendly perks and armor and gear in mind. So quickly just going over what exactly I have in the more budget-friendly preset. It is a Nox Staff, the Tier 85 Wand and Orb from Helwyr, Scripture of Wen, Virtus, the standard Blast Diffusion boots, the Karapak wrist wraps are there. Honestly, they aren't too useful. You could easily swap them out for Virtus gloves, or for whatever other gloves you have from Magic, or if you wanted to do some type of setup with Ganodermic gloves and helm and take advantage of Animate Dead. I don't think it's necessary for this gear. However, if it's going to make you more comfortable, the boss, go for it. However, Karapak wrist wraps are pretty nice for the effect it has on combust and whatnot. Standard, just a 3-piece Virtus setup. Channeler's Ring is there just because I don't remember off the top of my head how Tier 90 weapons deal with Raksha in terms of accuracy. I believe on Zerk style aura with just any old familiar, I'm sure it's fine in over 100%, even with Reaver's Ring, but I can't quite remember, and I couldn't find my copy of the accuracy calc, so I went ahead and just tossed Chandler's in there. It's also a cheaper option than going for Reaver's Ring, so it doesn't matter, honestly, which one you use. Whichever you have, go ahead and use, and the EOF just has a G-Staff in it. As far as perks are concerned, on the budget-friendly preset, it is Precise 6, Equal 4 on all of the weapons. The Bog, Standard, Basic tier, very cost-effective perks for the damage that they produce. And on the armor set, it is Crackling 4, Relentless 5, which is in the advanced perks category. However, it's pretty cheap to go for. You can just buy vintage components off the GE, and now that those prices have long since stabilized after Archaeology release. On release, they were expensive, but now in the modern era, they're pretty cheap to go for and buy, so you can easily do that. It has Impatient 4. You could go for Impatient 4, Devoted 4. I believe there is still Spaghetti code in-game that allows Devoted 4 and Enhanced Devoted 4 to proc independently. It's an old thing. It's been around since, honestly, Invention release. I think it's been around, but I don't believe it's been patched. However, Impatient 4 by itself, very cheap to get. I forget the item name. It's like Zamorak Majors or something like that. It's MJH are the first 3 letters. You can buy 100 per 4 hours, get like a bunch of Zami components, and go for attempts on Imp4, Devo4 that way. Or you could just do the standard Imp4 pretty much guaranteed combo of, I believe it's 6 Zeros and 1 Zamorakian component. As far as biting is concerned, this armor set does have biting 4. It was one that I had just left over from, I believe, a year or 2 ago when I was doing biting for mobile attempts. And biting 3 is not too much of a difference. It is 2% crit chance. However, if you're not really taking advantage of weapons that require crit chance like FSOA, it's not the biggest deal in the world to have biting 3 over biting 4. Biting 3 is pretty cheap to get with, I believe it's direct components, 9 direct components. There's a cheap way to get it. I'll have a link in the description below to the perk meta sheet, and then you can right-click on the percent chance under each perk combo that it recommends per the weapon, and it'll take you to a invention perk calculator, which will show you the layout of all the different components and stuff. I'll have that linked below just to make life a little bit easier for you. But looking over at the advanced preset, or the what my personal preset is. It's just kind of an upscaled version of the budget preset, and that's how I kind of made the budget preset. Is I just took what I was doing with my preset and just kind of toned everything down a few notches, and it seems to have worked out well. I think you'll be surprised at what that budget preset can actually do in terms of kills per hour and kill speed. I was very surprised myself, I will say. However, for Raksha specifically, on a more advanced preset, since I have FSOA, I have a Grim in its instead of the Scripture to take advantage of crit chance that I can get. The Blessed Flask is just there, so I have a reason. It's like I'm trying to find reasons to use it and justify its usage and making it in the first place. So with Calc Demon being released, I just use that as my source of prayer, and then just standard amounts of food. And the same thing is just kind of upscaled. The food combo I use here is just to help out with accuracy, being that Raksha has pretty high defense, so I try not to use brews, and I always use blubbers because it makes getting a rotation off easier, being that you're not losing adrenaline from a solid food eat. I've always found it more difficult to use solid food. The only place I use like sailfish or sailfish soup at this point is Telos because it's kind of required. However, anywhere else I am at this point, I am using blubbers, the blue blubbers specifically. They're 750 default per eat, and you get 3 eats per inventory slot. So the healing per slot is there. It's comparable to rocktails or sailfish. It's right in that same ballpark. So I just bring 8 of those and 4 Guthix Rest, and that's just because you always can just press your food combo key, and it's perfectly proportioned, being that flask holds 6 doses. It's 3 eats per inventory slot on the food, so you need 2 blubbers per potion. The physical SGB is just there for SGB spec. It keeps the inventory kind of open and free instead of bringing like an ECB with an EOF and having bolts worn and all that stuff. I'd rather just avoid all that mess and just bring up physical SGB. However, most of the time I forget that I even have it and don't use it, so don't really need it for this boss. I have plenty of kills that are pretty fast without it at all, but I started bringing it just in case I remember to use it. It kind of makes, in between phase 2 and 3, during that rockfall part, you can save your Omni power and use an SGB spec instead, since Raksha is stationary anyways, kind of stomping the ground, causing the rocks to fall everywhere. So if you're quick about the pools, you don't have to worry about Omni cooldown when you go back, but we'll get into the rotations and whatnot later. As far as EOFs are concerned, it's just the standard. I do have a G-Staff EOF, and the one that's equipped is an ABS or Armadyl Battle Staff EOF. And honestly, it's all just kind of standard stuff. The armor and weapons have just standard best in slot perks on them. There's nothing really special there. And the Vit Pot is for the rock falls on phase 1 to phase 2, so you can just stay in your sunshine easier and keep damaging the boss and basically just going full send. Alrighty, so for the next 2 sections being rotations and methods, and for general tips and tricks, I'm just going to be speaking in sort of an open format, and if you want more of a visual representation of what I'm doing during kills with kind of some live commentary, that'll be later on in this guide. However, this is more for people who would rather just want to kind of listen and think about it, and then maybe pick out a few things and put that into their kills. And later on will be the full-on live format, me explaining a kill as I am doing it. So getting into general rotations that I am using at Raksha for both the basic or budget-friendly preset and my normal preset. They both follow the same general overarching idea of how to approach Raksha, which is start off with a sunshine and let that sunshine carry through phase 1 and as much as phase 2 as you possibly can, and then kind of threshold and hit some weapon specs in there if you want to get to the end of phase 2. Then phase 2, it follows the idea of get some damage off, maybe a couple bleeds, maybe a big thresh or something like that. and then Bladed Dive onto each of the 4 pools in the room. They're located 2 on the north and northeast side of the room, and the other 2 being the southeast and south side of the room. They kind of form a U shape along the back half of Raksha from his original spawn point, which you're going to keep him there for most of the fight. After that, with the budget preset, I start another Sunshine to just get out as much damage as possible and phase as quickly as possible. And with the more advanced preset, I just go ahead and do a FSOA rotation without Sunshine or meta or anything special, and just kind of thresh it out and go from there. If you want to plug in an SGB spec, P3 is the most timely manner to go ahead and do so, since that is kind of where the most lackluster damage on my more advanced kills or my personal kills are, and that's where you're going to notice probably the most time gain. As far as phase 4 is concerned, I start out with just a standard kind of thresh and bleed rotation. I'm just kind of hitting thresholds as they're coming off cooldown, using the bleeds and letting those go and kind of work their magic. And when he'll do a spin attack twice where you have to run in and out. I'll explain that kind of further as it goes. But well, after the second one, he'll do a insta-kill attack where you have to do damage or hide from it. I just damage right through it, and that's where I take the time to Tsunami and get my in the buff from Tsunami being that anytime you crit, you get extra adrenaline, and it's a good damaging ultimate to use. If you're using Insight Fear, the adrenaline cost will be very low, so go ahead and take advantage of that. And then after that damage or that little DPS check is dealt with, I run around half the room, collect whatever of the I believe it's Shadow Animal, whatever that stuff is called. You collect all of that, and then I start a Sunshine with the budget, and with the advanced, I go into a Metamorph rotation. Both of these rotations can be found in my Magic DPS guide. They will be linked below as well. And that's about it, honestly. For as far as DPS in general, just big picture ideas go for both of the presets. So getting into things that you should keep an eye out for and the methods I use to kind of deal with them, being his special attacks and how the order of operations for Raksha kind of works. So Raksha is one of those bosses where each of the special attacks he has for each of the phases follows a specific rotation and will kind of repeat itself after a while. So the method used at Raksha is 4 auto attacks and then a special attack for phase 1 through phase 3, and phase 4, when he's locked into the center, that is halved, so it's 2 auto attacks then a special attack. For phase 1, the first special attack you'll see, he kind of spins in a circle. I think it's called a tail swipe spec or something like that. He swipes his tail around in a circle. All you have to do is just move about 3 to 4 tiles away before it comes around, and then you can run directly back in, kind of as the animation is swiping past you. The hit only actually checks for your player position. I believe it's for 2 or 3 game ticks, although it might only be 1, because I've definitely run in and out in 1 or 2 game ticks and haven't been hit by it. So it's a pretty loose window in terms of being able to avoid that tail swipe. If you don't quite make it due to just messing up a DPS rotation or just some bad RNG, on the budget preset, bad RNG on hits and whatnot can definitely be a factor that you'll have to deal with. And the second attack, you will be stunned, and basically a giant magic attack will come from the sky and then rain down on whatever your current position is. You'll see what looks like the Dedo animation, the green triangles pointing in towards yourself. That is the location in which it is going to hit the ground, and it is a 3x3 tile of purple smoke that will appear afterwards. The hit does, I believe it's anywhere from 4 to 5k damage, and it also disables your prayer for I believe it's 5 to 7 seconds. However, if you're fast enough, and I'll show the rotations to pretty much skip this in the kills. However, when you're learning this boss, you'll probably be dealing with it. So just have your freedom keybind ready, and then as soon as the tiles highlighted for the attack is started, just move 3 to 4 tiles to the side, and you should be able to deal with this rather quickly. During the phase transitions of Phase 1 to Phase 2 and Phase 2 to Phase 3 respectively, there is a special attack he does in which he stands still and kind of stomps the ground, causing rocks to fall from the ceiling of the encounter that you're in. So these are just like rocks from Shattered Worlds or Telos, or I believe there's a couple other places that uses the rock fall mechanic. I know in Shattered Worlds it's a debuff that you might have encountered, but you'll see shadows on the ground, and then a little bit of time later, a rock will fall down on that position and hit you anywhere from 2,500 to 3,500 damage on, it's a typeless hit. So what I do in these situations, at least for Phase 1 to Phase 2, I just use Vitpot or Power Burst of Vitality. It doubles your HP for about 6 seconds, so I kind of just pay attention to where my character is, like look around the few tiles surrounding, and I just look for a shadow that's kind of close by, and as soon as I see a shadow appear, I'll wait just a little bit longer and then go ahead and click the Vitality Potion and just soul split through, because during this time he's not casting any auto attacks on you, so you'll be able to just soul split through and heal back from doing a bunch of damage. And on Phase 1 to 2, your Sunshine should still be up and hitting a few big thresholds, so you'll have all of that HP coming back in, whilst you're also Vitpotted dealing with that. And also, this is where you're most likely going to use a decent amount of your food, or, you know, you're going to eat a couple times, and just play it safe and keep it comfortable for yourself. I personally don't have issues with being low HP, but I know some people really don't like doing that, so go ahead and just find an HP level and timing window that works for you and whatnot. So for Phase 2 to Phase 3, I wait about 3 or 4 abilities. I'll get like 3-4 abilities off, and then I'll go ahead and start bladed diving around the pools. And usually I don't get hit by too many rocks, and also I keep soul split up because as you kill the pools with your bladed dive swap, you can soul split all of those 1Ks back, and it's a fair amount of HP that you get back from bladed diving on the pool. So that comboed with some more combo eats with Blue Blubbers and Guthix rests, or if you want to use a Bruise, go ahead. I personally don't because of accuracy reasons. However, you know, just do whatever is comfortable for you, and then you can go back to damaging. You probably will take a couple rock hits, but it's not too big of a deal. And then after that, as far as special attacks go, on Phase 2, you will deal with you will most likely deal with a I think it's called the Mind Poison spec. Basically, there are 2 shadow-looking orbs that'll spawn on the ground, and the number of orbs can increase based on the, I believe it's Enrage mechanic that he has from shadow pools hitting him, and a couple other things that can factor into that. I don't exactly remember, but typically on the first Mind Poison spec, there's only 2 of the little shadow orbs, and one tip that I have here that makes it a lot easier to spot them is to play on the midday skybox at Raksha, and it's much easier to see on the ground because the ground will be a much lighter gray, and it is much easier to spot and click those shadow orbs. And you just click them, and they'll be doing typeless damage to you during that time. However, you can just turn Soul Split on and keep attacking while you click the 2 orbs, and then you'll have a little bit more time to Soul Split some HP back. On Phase 2, after the Mind Poison special attack, if you don't quite make it to the phase HP for P3 in time, there will be another tail swipe after this. You can just either escape or run a few tiles away to avoid this and keep damaging the boss per usual. Now for phase 3, the first special attack you encounter is a Mind Poison, again, and then 4 attacks later, or 4 auto attacks later, after that, you will face the same attack from P1, where if you don't quite make it, he will stun you and launch a magic attack on your position that disables your prayer. However, this one repeats itself 3 times. So you kind of can just run around in a box formation around him, and this number, like the Mind Poison attack, can increase and duration, being that it can spawn more than 3. 3 is the baseline, but it can go to 4 or sometimes 5, depending on how much you may or may not have screwed up the kill. I think the most I've seen is 5, just from being really just not paying attention at all and screwing stuff up and having an overall bad kill. But typically you will only see 3 to 4 of them. And then after that will be a tail swipe, and that should be the end of phase 3. Usually on the budget preset, I was finding I was dealing with the location-based attack. I forget the specific name for it, forgive me on that one. But I was dealing with that for a little bit. However, I only had to do a few more abilities before I was phasing into it, and I wasn't even getting the full special attacks. So just keep that in mind as kind of a benchmark for doing Magic Raksha. Now, as far as phase 4 is concerned, there's only 2 possible special attacks that can happen to you. And that is the tail swipe. If you are standing on the platform that he is within, you'll see a little step up, and then it kind of leads up into melee distance. I believe it is 3 tiles wide. So as long as you're standing on one of those tiles, he will do a tail swipe, and you just run out and in to avoid it, per usual. And if you're not standing on one of those, he will do the same attack from phase 1, where he stuns you and drops a magic attack on your position that, if you get hit by it, knocks out your prayer and does a lot of damage, and drops a smoke cloud as well. So the method for P4 definitely is to run in and out and deal with tail swipes, rather than trying to deal with the stun attack and planting smoke everywhere. So that is definitely what I would say. And it is 2 special attacks based on your positioning, and then he goes into the DPS check or insta-kill, whichever one you've heard of it called. And the HP here usually isn't too much. It scales anywhere from, I believe, 10 to 25k. So a Tsunami and a G-Conk with maybe a couple other basics, and that thing should be long gone, and it won't be too much of an issue for you to clear. However, just I would brute force right through it, and then after that, follow the same thing stated previously of running around to one of the sides, collecting some of the shadow anima, and there is a delay in between that the DPS check and him starting up his auto attacks again. So there is a little bit of extra time. I'd say anywhere from 3 to 5 seconds of extra time you get to kind of run around and collect some of the shadow anima before you go and use up all that goodness to get the extra damage and absolutely melt P4 into non-existence, hopefully to get yourself a nice Gricko. Alrighty, that was a lot of information to take in at once, so for those of you who are auditory learners, hopefully that helped you out, just kind of listening to the general ideas of me speaking about how I deal with the boss. However, now we get into the live format for the boss guide. So right now I'm just starting out here with my bank preset. I wanted to just make a couple notes real quick. I will be using, this is the budget version first, and then it'll be my actual preset later on. But a couple of notes I wanted to make for the budget preset specifically. I do use Ripper Demon, and I do use Summoning Renewal, and sometimes I use Spirit Weed Incense, sometimes I don't. It does make life a lot easier for using Ripper. Boss is not weapon poisonable, so I don't use Quarm. And Lanta is, I would say it's worthwhile. I personally use it, however, I know a lot of people don't. And on the advanced preset, I actually don't use any incense sticks just to help on a little bit of cost saving, but it doesn't make too much of a difference. Also, as far as rune pouches are concerned, I know these rune pouches can be expensive to make, so the only spells you really need for Raksha are Insight Fear and Exsanguinate. Those are the two I switch between, and it's also nice on your interface to have them somewhere close to where you're going to generally be clicking for player movement, so somewhere closer to your character is where you want things to be clicked. Notice the distance here isn't too bad, whereas compared to if I was clicking them from over here, like that's a long way for the mouse to travel, and it's just a lot more room for error, and that's unnecessary complexity. So go ahead and get ready for the kill. Just hit some bonfire. I do like the Ogre Flask as well, just extra HP, because why not? Overload the renewal. Summon a familiar. Go ahead and load up our preset. And then as I run over, I like to make sure all my binds are set. I just realized Bladed Dive is not, so go ahead and fix that. Now, actually, before I gain adrenaline here, there is a starting method that I use regardless of preset, and that is a very specific rotation, being that I surge into the encounter, I then surge again, and on global, like, as fast as I can press abilities, I will hit Devotion, and then Sunshine, and then on that third tick of Sunshine, that's when you can go ahead and hit Target Cycle. And I personally will throw on a Smoke Cloud and any basic ability, whichever I'm feeling, whether it's G-Conk or D-Breath or maybe a Bleed or something. But that is the order of operations that I follow every single time I start up Raksha. So I have a decent amount of time. I'll go ahead and reset our aura here. And we'll go ahead and get ready for a kill. Grab some adrenaline from the crystal. Also, if you don't have the boss portal, say you need a kill to go ahead and get it, try and have a clanny or someone help you to get your first kill. And go ahead and go through, enter the security gate, and start. So, go ahead and have my Vig equipped. No, I don't have the passive just yet. I hate quests, and I just don't like doing quests. So, go ahead and keep using Vigor for now. And I have my Planted Feet swap equipped, so I'll go ahead and Surge. Then here, I wait a little bit just to make sure I'm ready. Then I surge, press Devotion, start my Sunshine, EC Smoke Cloud with a basic, toss a Vuln Bomb, and just start my rotation. I like to do 3 basics. Go ahead and auto Tsunami. Toss in a Wild Magic. I was sitting there trying to stats back from muscle memory, but try and get a Wild Magic in and his fix out. Step out. Hit an Omni Power. Do a little bit of Deado action, release it with a Bleed, go into a G-Conk, hit a G-Staff, D-Breath, Auto Wild Magic, and we did skip the attack, so we can just sit here in DPS. Starting his fix, and I saw that Shadow, so I'll go ahead and hit the Vit Potion. I did not mean to hit Magma Tempest there, but honestly, it's a pretty weak ability. I don't like using it too much, so go ahead and keep threshing here. Using G-Conk as much as possible. That's the saving grace of Magic right now, is that G-Conk is very, very strong. And we'll try and get it so we don't get the tail swipe. I'm not sure if we'll make it or not. We should make it here. Yep, we made it. Second ability, third ability. I wait for this line of text to show up. The keeper says that line. That's when I go ahead and start Bladed Diving. And also, for some reason, I don't know why, but randomly one of these don't work. So I was just kind of preemptively press Hurricane on one of them until it happens, and then it works after the fact. I'm not sure why that happens. Just kind of prayer flicking here. Put my boots back on. Click the Shadow, the Mind Poison. And here I let Tsunami kill the manifestation. And we're just off to the races, making sure I get 2 wild magics and an Asphyx in. I know the attack's coming up, so I'll go ahead and preemptively Freedom. I had to run away from my Sunshine, but it's not the end of the deal. We're almost at 200k already. Just do some damage. Oh, he got healed. Unfortunate. And we're moving into phase 4. I've used a little bit of food, but nothing too bad. So here, I'll go ahead and toss a couple bleeds, a Vuln Bomb, and go ahead and try and re-Smoke Cloud. And if you can get an Omni Power off early, you will have it off cooldown for when you start your Sunshine after the DPS check. So here, I'm just going to start building because we have this special attack coming up. And then it's 2 autos into the DPS check. So I'll go ahead and get my G-Conk ready. Toss the Tsunami. Do another G-Conk. And here, we'll go ahead and Bladed Dive, surge around, have a little bit of fun, collect some Shadow Anima, and go ahead and start another Sunshine. Don't forget to click your extra action button so you can get some extra damage out. It does a lot of damage. As you can see, these hits are pretty much hitting hit cap. And there you can kind of, as you can see, that's like the perfect timing for, oh, Overload ran out. That's not good. For dealing with the tail swipe, it's pretty lenient on the tail swipe as long as you're preemptive and know when it's coming up. And there we go, that's a kill done with the budget preset. 349 is our time. I've had faster with it, but I would say that's about average. Now, that might have been a lot to take in at once, so we'll go ahead and do one more example kill. Just go back here with my bank preset. Go ahead and recharge on the altar. Click our renewal, click our overload again, even though I used it on P4. Kind of forgot I did that. And then go ahead and grab Adrenaline again. Now, if you have Disrupt Shield and Venge, I was just not using them because I don't expect someone at this point in their gear progression to have those unlocked. However, if you do have them unlocked, feel free to use them. Good. You can just kind of pre-charge them and it makes life even easier. Or you can save them for the P1, P2 Rockfall just to take even less damage. So once again, we'll go ahead and surge. I don't move from this tile. And then surge again. Press our Devotion. Press our Sunshine. TC with Smoke Cloud and a basic, and we're off to the races. 48%, so I can end this fix with a Fortic. Also, I do Fortic here in this budget friendly. However, I do have a guide in my section in my Magic DPS guide talking about Fortic and how I tackle it. If you guys would like an even more in-depth video on that, feel free to let me know. But here I'm just kind of following some basic DPS, going for my Secnus fix. Like the Vit Pot. Try to. There we go. It's because I was trying to eat some food. And some spiritual prayer for my Ripper there. I haven't had to juice a Ripper in a while. I've just been so spoiled with Calg. But here I'm just going to be thresholding once again. Making sure to get my G-Conks off. Go for an Asphyx here. G-Conk, and we'll toss another Omni, just because we can. You'll see all the hits once. That's from the Carapac wrist wraps. It's kind of nice, and it allows the Combust to do 25% more. That line of text came out, so now we can start Bladed Diving. Luckily, Aftershock there saved us. That one didn't seem to work, so I'll just toss a Corrupt on there. That'll kind of spread itself around and kill off all of the rest of the pools. Nami should kill it. Not, but you know what? It's fine. And for some reason, I'm trying to go ahead and chain. There we go. Thresholds here. Preemptively Freedom. For an Omni Power, make sure it's inside of the sun. Then we can just kind of run around in Threshold. Also, you notice this boss forces you to Prayer Flick. It can take a while to build up this skill set in order to Prayer Flick and Fortic. Fortic, I don't think is super necessary here. I'm not casting as many autos as I once would just because of G-Conk timing. However, just having the standard rotation, getting out the right thresholds under your sun, making sure you're using your Omni, and other things of the sort, you should be able to do this boss no problem. You know, add in bits and pieces as you need to in order to make the kills easier on yourself so they actually happen instead of trying to overload yourself all at once. So here we're getting our DPS check, our Tsunami. We'll toss another G-Conk just because we can. One more basic. Oh, he's on 10 HP. Now we're fine. The Shadow Anima over here and start a Sunshine. Hit our extra action button so we get all of the damage. We'll just go straight into an Omni and an Asphyx. For each Shadow Anima that you pick up, you get 10% extra damage when you activate the extra action button. And that's kind of how that works. And we'll hit it with a Ditto into a Wild Magic. And an Asphyx, and that should kill it. Freedom, because I'm lazy. And we're done. The 351, a little bit slower yet still. I had a 331 with this preset, and that was kind of lucky, I won't lie. But as you can see, this preset is more than capable of putting out some rather good boss times. As long as you put the work in and, you know, learn the skill sets required. Fortic is not going to be... It's definitely beneficial in terms of getting damage out. It is very nice. I understand not everyone wants to do it. However, if you just follow the general concepts of magic DPS being you're putting your greater conk before things like Omni or Wild Magic, you're getting 2 Wild Magics, 2 Asphyx, a Ditto, and an Omni. Or if you want to go for 2 Omnis, feel free to go ahead and go for that. However, as you noticed, I was just doing 1 Omni power, usually per Sunshine, and it was more than enough to get some pretty good damage out. Alrighty, so quick note before we move into the live portion of the advanced preset. As you noticed during those 2 kills, I was using the tier 99 prayer that's out of force of habit. However, most of that kill, as you can see, I was using the tier 85 wand and orb, which are tier 90 accuracy but only tier 80 damage. So how that would work out is if you have say you have Seismics and that's your dual wield set, Seismics with tier 95 prayer is going to pretty much be the same accuracy and damage, roughly speaking, as say the tier 85 wand and orb with the tier 95 prayer active. Now you will have more accuracy than the Seismics most likely with that wand and orb set. However, accuracy can easily come from a G-Staff EOF, and you can just hit that a little bit more. And also, the prayer is only 680 mil, versus Seismic Singularity itself being 700, and Wand is like another 500 or something like that. Like, dual-wield weapons are insane in price right now, mainly because G-Conk is so strong of an ability. So honestly, I would probably right now, just because of current prices, would push T99 Prayer a little bit up compared to going for like Praisals or something like that. And honestly, over Seismics, I mean, you just saw right there with a Nox Staff, which is 200, and then the Wand and Orb from Hell, where it's like, I think they're, what, 25, 30 mil for the set, and that Prayer. So for just over the price of a Singularity and a little bit of a Wand, you have a weapon set and prayer set that could easily, you know, almost outclass the Seismics by themselves. However, they're all going to be roughly in the same damage point, and the biggest lesson here is that rotations matter. Rotations will always matter, and building up your skill set and being able to perform those rotations while monitoring other things such as prayer flicking and whatnot, that will triumph over any piece of gear to come out into this game. Alrighty, so just like the budget gear, I'm going to go ahead and do some live commentary on kills on how I do Raksha with my personal preset. Just got to change over some keybinds real quick. And, alright, Bladed Dive is set, Dual Wield is set. I did not want to do that. Well, I guess I'm not having Vitpot for phase 2, but you know what, we'll just Blood Auto and everything. GB is set. I need to change my staff. And the boots. It is always worthwhile to take the extra time to check your keybinds before you go into a boss encounter for the hour, in case you did something different the hour before. We'll gain our adrenaline, so I use the same starting rotation every single time for starting a Raksha kill, and that is I surge, and then after this surge, I will surge again to my start point, and that'll start the boss. I then hit Devotion, Sunshine, and then on that third tick of Sunshine, when you would cast another ability, I hit Target Cycle, Smoke Cloud, and a Basic, and the Basic will change to either G-Conk or D-Breath or Corrupt Blast. It's just kind of an improv thing. Being that I'm kind of an improv person on this game, I don't follow too many super set in stone rotations. Anyway, enough of me blabbering on. Let's go ahead and get ourselves my spell is set to the correct one. Just shut up and kill the boss guard guy. Game starting. TC with Smoke Cloud. Toss the Vuln Bomb. My third basic off, Auto Tsunami. Go ahead and go for the staff spec. Happen to get a Relent proc there. Probably shouldn't have 10Ds, but it's force of habit anyways. Wild Magic. Into an Omni Power. Get my Asphyx off. Swap to Blood Autos just so I survive. Keep ABS specking, kind of following a standard-ish rotation. ABS is now done with. Abilities. I'll put Insight back on just because I usually forget it. And just kind of thresh and feel out the boss from here. The thing about this boss is with this, I follow the same rotation time and time again. I'll hit thresholds here at this point, and kill times will change a lot just based on the RNG I get from crits on whatnot. So Bladed Dive here. I usually have this problem where one of them just doesn't seem to work, so I just kind of spam Hurricane after each one until I can get the one that doesn't work, and then after that they seem to work just fine. After that's done though, I just go into a normal staff spec here. Go ahead and chain just to kill this thing. Omni Power. And just ABS and Thresh until the boss is dead. I get another auto. I don't think I do. Nope, I didn't. And that's pretty much phase 3 all said and done with. Now what I'll do here is I'll start off with a Magma Tempest, so that way I don't get the little immune message, because it takes a while. Well, I only get one of them instead of 2. And I just kind of Thresh here and just kind of chill out. Maybe hit it with a Rack and Ruin. Here, I'll just go ahead and D-Breath into a Combust. And with Wrist Wraps, I do go ahead and take advantage of a Lunging Switch just to get that bit of extra damage. Here, I'll go ahead and Smoke Cloud, and then I Tsunami. Staff Spec, hit my A-Pot. Couple bleeds off on the target. Hope it dies. And then I immediately go into a Metamorph, and then Limitless. Make sure that's going, the extra action's going, and then just do a standard kind of Metamorph rotation. Which is not seeming to crit, you know, kind of happens to the best of us. If I did get some crits, boss would be dead by now, but, you know, stuff happens, and we don't always get what we want. So I'll just sit here and thresh and improvise and wait until the kill's done. This is a very slow kill. And go ahead and get our loot. 314. Yeah, that's a slow one. That's definitely on the slow end. I noticed my kill speeds will range anywhere from like the low 220s to the high like 2s, low 3s, and sometimes even that type of 3-minute mark. So I will go ahead and potion up one more time just to do one more example. I was kind of rambling on that kill, so I'll try and be more specific about my rotation this time. Well, like an absolute dingus like I usually am, I went in to go start that second kill, and I completely botched and messed up my rotation. No one's perfect, and I am no exception to the rule, so, you know, stuff happens. So go ahead and go up, or go in, I should say. We'll surge, and we'll do our second surge, devotion, start our sunshine, and TC with smoke cloud and a basic, happen to be dragon breath. An auto tsunami and staff spec. Here I'll go ahead and hit limitless and then swap over to Xang. Get a wild magic, get an omni power, run in and out, and his fix. Do a ABS spec, a basic, and then another ABS spec. Third ABS spec into a wild magic. This one happens to be pretty fast. We managed to skip the mind poison, which was like a 50-50 shot for me happening. Do some basics. Wait for these to kind of spawn in. I got adrenaline there. That's how I kind of know this one works. It's like, it seems like mobile has like a 50% chance of working, and it's weird. I haven't quite figured it out. Tsunami is just coming off a cooldown, so go ahead. Spec, chain just to kind of hit the little shadow manifestation there, just to make sure it's dead. Those do get annoying if you leave them alive. They can hit. Oh man, this is actually kind of fast. I didn't even mean to fully staff spec there. Interesting. Go ahead and hit some bleeds, and maybe an asphyx because I still have staff spec. And like a dummy, I put my dual wield on. But here I'm just going to be threshing per usual. Kind of running in and out and dealing with a special attack as it comes. Nice hit there. And for this one, I'm going to change it up. I'm going to go ahead and sunshine. Some anima, and then I'll go ahead and tsunami just because this one happened to be so usually this doesn't happen. I usually never get this fast of a kill, at least the fast of an entry. Get some abilities and it's dead. Got ourselves some spiky orichalcum salvage and a nice time of 225. And you'll notice I didn't have to do any type of dummy setup or some weird build rotation with Incend Shot or anything like that. This is just a, honestly, straightforward method of just go in, kill the boss, don't worry about any fancy setup work or anything like that, and just press buttons, do damage. And this is kind of my overall method on how I do Raksha. Alrighty, so I just wanted to go over some final thoughts real quick. I know this is a long guide, however, I wanted to separate it into two parts. Let me know in the comments below what you think on having both parts in there. I know some people are definitely more of a listen to some audio and kind of think about it type of learning, whereas some people just want to see the visual and kind of have an audio background or a commentary background on a kill itself. Those are both the kind of ways I like to teach, depending on what people find the most helpful. And let me know in the comments below which one you prefer, because if everyone seems to be preferring just the live kills themselves with some commentary, I could easily cut out the audio portion or trim it down to where it doesn't take up a whole lot of time. However, I do like to ramble and try and make or explain as much as possible in the in that section of the video. And I think the biggest point to take away from this, I kind of talk about this a lot on stream, and that is the thing of rotations and skill building will always take precedence over any type of gear upgrade. As you can see with that budget gear setup, it was doing really well. It goes along pretty fast for the level of gear that it is, and it's always been kind of the proof of you don't need to, you know, get the next piece of gear to get really good at damage. Damage is just formed from having a good rotation and letting the abilities kind of synergize with each other to fully maximize their output. You know, for example, using G-Conk before a certain threshold so they do a bit more damage, or they can do a bit more damage in the sense of they're going to more likely crit, and other things like that, and just really getting to build up your skill set in this game. And honestly, that is the most enjoyable part of this game, is going to these bosses, pushing yourself through the challenge of learning and building up a skill set, and looking at the results and looking back on previous attempts and whatnot, and seeing the progression of yourself in this game. Ladies, gentlemen, and I did not forget about you, Divertibility Codexes. Thank you very much for watching. If you made it to the end of the video, consider subscribing to the channel, as it helps out a lot more than you could imagine. If you have any questions on anything about this guide, feel free to put them in the comments below, or if you happen to catch one of my live streams over on Twitch, twitch.tv/CarGuyRS, feel free to pop on by and drop a question there. I'll be happy to answer any of them. Links for everything will be in the description below. As always, have a wonderful morning, evening, afternoon, nighttime, whatever it is, wherever you are. I'm Car Guy, and this has been a lot of fun. I'll see y'all next time for the next guide. Peace.